Ladies and gentlemen, from Concordia University, Connor Lackey.
So before the video starts, I just wanted to give a little bit of brief context about that intro clip. So I got the chance a couple months ago to go bowl down in Vegas for the ISC National Championships. And I actually made the TV show, so I kind of wanted to give a little bit of kind of a story time of like how I was able to do it and what led up to it. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please click the like and the subscribe button. This is my first attempt at a video like this, so I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into the video. So I want to start this journey at Jack 60 for the Players Championship. Players Championship, if you don't know, is one of the 5 majors on the PBA Tour. Normally there would be a PTQ to get into the field. However, the PTQ did not fill up and neither did the main field. So we were actually able to jump the PTQ and bowl the actual main event without having to go through the PTQ. So I felt, what better way to try and start my PBA Tour career than bowl a major championship at my home center. The only caveat to that was that because of the plug rule on the PBA Tour, I was only able to throw 6 bowling balls. I wasn't able to throw any other bowling balls besides those 6 because I had went through a fit change mid-season. So I had a Criterion, a Hammer Effect, a Real Time, a Hammer Effect Tour, a spare ball, and an IQ78U. So I was very limited on the arsenal side. But I felt that with my game being fairly sharp, I could compete with some of the best in the world. Now, I am 24 years old. I have barely any PBA experience, so this was definitely a first for me. And going into this, I believe the first couple games were me just trying to knock off the nerves. I had probably minus 20, minus 30 my first couple of games. Ended up rattling off a few 200 games to get me back plus, and I think I was actually a decent way plus going into the last couple blocks. However, if you look at the scoreboard right there, you can see that I decided that I didn't want to bring my spare game. I chopped more spares that day and just airballed a lot of them than I had in the past couple of months in general. Since switching back to my one-handed spare delivery, my spare percentage went way up. However, I'm still throwing my strike ball two-handed, so most people don't understand that I was switching back and forth between one and the other. So basically, my swing just got out of line that day, and I really couldn't tell you why. So I had to really focus on my spare shots more than I actually would normally, just because it was going that south. And I think I cost myself probably 130 or 140 pins the first day purely off of spare shooting. I ended up getting back with a 220 something the last game, going minus 18 for the first block. So I wasn't in a necessarily bad spot, but I wasn't in a great spot to make this cut. And they were cutting to the top half for the advancers round, and then after that they were going to cut again to the top half to the cashers round. So I sat in a very, very weird spot going into day 2. Day 2, after talking with Wesley Lowe and Tim Mack about what I should do with this IQ78U, I had a much better game plan of what I wanted to do with the IQ78U, because the day before I was knocking off the nerves, but also didn't have the greatest ball reaction. I really didn't know what surface to put on it, and also where to play, because that IQ78U can be so touchy. So I ended up moving a little bit deeper than I did day 1, and hitting it with more surface and just allowing the surface of the ball to kind of go at the 3-pin and just let it tip. We are bowling on 38 feet, but the gutter was not in play, which is the very weird part. So all we really were trying to do were just get the ball to hook, stop, hit the pocket, knock them all over if we can, and just kind of go by there. And I believe the first game I ended up starting with a 230, so I got back all the pins I was minus. And I was plus 50 actually after 2 games. However, I believe game 4 I ended up having a 140 because I split about 5 times and just couldn't figure out the pair. And then when I left makeables, I think I chopped 1 or 2 of them. But ultimately, I ended up just really not throwing the ball the greatest that game and completely misreading the pair, which didn't help. Going after that game, I knew I was going to need some big games coming in. I struggled with carry on the low end, but I ended up battling my way back, actually giving myself a chance this last game to make the cut because I needed pretty much 290 to make the cut. I had a few bad hits where I just hit the pocket and flat 10 or shaker 7, but overall I believe this last game I threw the ball some of the best in the tournament. Other than the last ball in the 10th frame, which was, I believe, just tugged over my left toe and I 5-pin. But there's a lot of really good shots. I mean, that 10-pin right there was me just kind of missing it at the bottom. And right here, I just over-rotate it just a touch in shaker 7-pin. But other than that, I mean, every other ball this game besides the one in the 10th were aced. And knowing I needed these shots and the type of pressure that you feel knowing you need these clutch shots is very, very, very similar to what I was going to feel in Vegas, bowling some of the best collegiate players in the world. So I took everything that I could from this learning experience and brought it with me to Vegas. Another really, really big thing that helped me here was just trying to keep my conduct down, not trying to get overly amped up because I am bowling as a professional. So I needed to, keep my composure and be calm. I actually ended up finishing 90. What did I finish? 98th. I ended up beating Jacob Buttroff, EJ Tackett, some of the bigger names, AJ Chapman, Packy Hanrahan, but ultimately it was just, a great experience for me, and I couldn't be more proud of myself. So while the finals for this was recording, I was actually on a plane being able to watch it flying to Las Vegas, which was really cool to see Ethan Fiore win a major title in my center. But after landing in Vegas, I knew there was work to be done, and so preparations for ISCs began. So after spending a few days in Vegas, we had our hour practice session a few days after I landed, and we learned two things about the pattern. Number one, urethane was not in play, so the purple hammer was gone, which meant I only had 3 balls to choose from now. But number two, it looked like a lot of surface was needed and aggressive bowling balls were needed. So you could not play inside or else your ball would go 60 feet. So the key here was just playing as close to the gutter as we could with a little bit of shape. So about 9 to about 5, 4. And if I missed it up the lane, it would kind of hold. So we took a track Criterion, which is my big ASIM ball that I brought, and just hit it with, I think, 800. And we just made sure that the ball got into a roll to try and control the pocket. I ended up actually leading after game 1, shooting 259. After 3 games, that changed, however. I shot 706 for the first 3, and Spencer Robarge shot 809, so I was in second by 103. But by the end of it all, I ended up having a couple of 190, 180 games coming in, and I just really couldn't capitalize on a good start. I ended up missing the first round bye by 3 pins, so the top 8 get a first round bye, and the others had to bowl their first round match. So I ended up being the number 9 seed, having to face Ethan Vanderslick of Davenport in my first match. But we were re-oiling on fresh, so I kind of had a decent game plan, knowing what to do going into that match, and I had great ball reaction this first game, so I thought I had a pretty good chance of winning this first match. But once again, you never really know until you bowl it. So after about a 10-minute practice session, I'm pretty confident going into this match, and I'm throwing decent shots. However, the lanes say otherwise because I'm starting to notice a little more hang on this lane than I saw in the previous match. Well, I realized the more you put a pattern down, the tighter it's going to get. As you can see, my ball kind of hydroplaned there. So I tried to move a little bit right, try and get a little closer to that friction, and just try and maintain my ball speed and make sure that ball is getting into a really heavy roll. Well, the first game I end up only shooting a $181 because I have a few splits in there as well as a missed single pin. But at the end of the game, I start locking in and finding my groove. Somewhere in between game 1 and game 2, for some reason, that spot started to open up a lot. And from there, my arm swing kind of loosened up, knowing I had a little more free hook than I did in the first game. And I end up starting to rattle off, I think I rattled off 2 4-baggers with a split in the middle. So I ended up, just executing shots at a higher level than I did game one because of that amount of hook, that I basically felt that I could trust the ball as far right as I needed to get the ball to the spot. And it ended up actually working out in my favor. I ended up going from down 30-some pins to taking a 20-pin advantage over Ethan. But knowing that it's 3 games, total pinfall, I can't let my guard down at all, because if I do, these bowlers are the caliber that they can walk all over you the minute you take your foot off the gas pedal. So I now know that we're in game 3. I need to keep my foot on his throat and just make him think, as well as keep executing so he can't shut me out. And I'm still doing that in this game. I feel like I actually executed the last 2 games here on the first ball a lot better than I did the first game, and it showed in my score. I just keep hitting the pocket a lot. And I actually got a couple of breaks. As you can see, I rolled a 6-pin here, going a little bit heavy. But I just controlled the pocket really, really well. And stepping up in the 8th frame, basically need marks to shut it out. So I see the 7-pin, I'm like, oh, that's a really good shot. And then I proceed to do probably one of the dumbest things ever. Not even close. So I'm like, okay, gotta regroup, throw a better shot. Throw a great shot right here. Messenger just misses the 10-pin, so, obviously I didn't throw it good enough to strike, but, make my spare. And another slip and a whiff. So in the 8th and 9th frame, I go back-to-back whiff single pins. I think I'm in some serious trouble. Ethan, if he strikes here, I'm in trouble. He wraps the 10-pin and makes it, so now he needs to strike out to force me to double. And he leaves the 2-4-8. So now all I need really is a mark, as long as he picks this up. Well, he throws it and his ball just skates a little too far and he ends up chopping it. He shoots 608, which gave me the win. My very next match would be up against Caleb Carey from LTU. Caleb Carey is another Michigan bowler, so I've bowled against him a lot. This time, instead of bowling on fresh conditions, we are bowling on the burn, so there had been 3 games already bowled on this pair. So there was a little more hook to the right, still throwing the same ball. I actually didn't hit it with any surface before the start of the second match. So this is all lane shined from the first match. I'm still throwing that track criterion, but I just bumped everything a little more in. As you can see, I have a little more hold to the inside than I did, but I also have that hook to the outside. So what this basically did was allowed me to loosen up the swing a little bit. Sometimes a little too loose, like I believe this shot went a little bit left because I just yanked over on it. But I had a massive area on this lane, and it showed starting off the game with a 230. Caleb kind of struggled a little bit. I think, if I remember correctly, he didn't realize it was on the on the burn, and hit all of his balls with fresh surface. So he had some inconsistent reaction. He didn't throw it bad, just misread the lane a little bit. As you can see here, I get that one a little more right, and it fires back. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about my game. I know I need to keep striking, so I just keep trying to execute good shots one after another and hope they strike. And this criterion so far has been the only ball I've actually thrown during the competition. So it's putting in the work, and it keeps striking. Game 2, I mean, we're halfway into game 2, and I'm pacing 280 right after a 230 game, which is always great in these matches, especially when it's 3 games total pinfall. So I just keep trying to throw good shots. As you can see, that mid lane oil is starting to make the ball go a little bit light, so I'm having to keep it a little tighter. There was a weird in-between zone where if I got it in the oil but not as far right to the hook spot, it would kind of labor and go miss the head pin or go really, really light. So I just had to make sure that I was either in the oil a little more direct or I was throwing it to that spot. I couldn't really miss in between. So I end up defeating Caleb 668 to 511. And the next match, I have to go up against the number 1 seed and the number 1 ranked player in the country, Spencer Robarge of Wichita State. So leading into this match, I knew I had my hands full. Going up against the number 1 seed who led by probably 200 pins, I knew I'm going to have to make some very good shots. So this is the next morning. We're back on the fresh, and the left side is to himself, the right side's to myself. So I tried to burn a hole as best I could and just tried to throw the best shots I could. He's going to be playing a more direct line up the gutter like this, and I knew it was going to be a strike fest just bowling him and seeing the matches he had bowled prior. He averaged 250 for 9 games up until this point. So I knew it was going to take everything out of me to even contend against him. I step up here in the 5th frame, just trying to throw as good a shots as I can physically throw, and so far, so good. He actually doubles up, and I'm like, okay, we got a match. This shot I thought was pretty good off of his hand until it hit the pins. When I saw this, I said, now is my chance to really step on it. I gotta put him down, because I'm not gonna get another chance like this. And I just continued to throw good shot after good shot after good shot. I got a few breaks along the way. This one wasn't my greatest effort, but it came in a little behind it and sent the head pin over. But I kept throwing good shots and keeping myself in the pocket, and that's really all you can ask for on a difficult pattern like this. And stepping up here in the 8th frame, knowing I'm in control, just trying to throw good shots, and pins are still falling over. Now this is where I wonder, where did this come from? Just a little fast, leave a 2-pin. All of a sudden, a pin comes out from behind and rolls the 2 forward, giving me an 8-bagger, stepping up into the 10th frame. Robarge finishes at 211, and I have a chance to sheet out for 290. Getting the first hit in the 10th on that 9-pin, I end up leaving a flat 10 on this hit. So I end up shooting 279 first game to his 211, giving me about a 60-pin lead. So knowing I'm going up against Spencer Robarge, I knew I needed that cushion, and he starts off the second game with this. So I'm like, okay, here we go. He's back to his normal self. I need to start striking again, just to keep the pressure on him. So I step up on the right lane and bury it. Get the 9-pin out a little late. Now this left lane started to transition a little bit weird for me. I ended up seeing a little bit of a hang spot. As you can see, the ball kind of missed the hip pocket. I didn't see that on the right lane at all, but only on the left lane, and it seemed like it was only on the left lane in every single pair in the South Point Bowling Plaza. So the right lane, step up here, throw another great strike. And this right here was the first time I had faced a little bit of adversity in this match. It just skidded a little too long and wash out. And I stood up here saying, this is going to show what you're made of right here. This will determine the match. You need to give this a pretty good run. I let go of my spare ball, and right off my hand I knew I made it. And that was probably the biggest moment of the weekend. So after making that spare, he's on pace for 280. I know I need to step on it to make sure I maintain my lead. I get up there, throw another messenger. Not my greatest work, but close enough. I make about a half a board move on this left lane, knowing that it's tightening up, thinking it was enough, and it was not. I end up leaving a little shaker 4-pin, make the spare. I'm on pace for a Dutch 200. He ends up 9 sparing in the 6th, so he can max out at 259, and I know I need them all. But I end up throwing this one pretty poor, make my spare, get that out of my head, and I just really focus on these next couple of shots. He can still shoot 259. I need all the pins I can get for 220. So I bury that one right there, knowing that just get as many pins, do damage control, because he's going to try and get as many back, and throws this one great, just touch high, and it's 6 pins. So that drops his max to 239, stepping up in the 9th frame. And just throws this one pretty good, creeps a little bit high in 6/8. The minute I see that 6/8 stand, I know I'm in the driver's seat again. Step up here in the 9th frame, knowing this is a really big shot to put a ton of pressure on him. And I ace it off my hand. It goes light, but it splashes the rack. Ball's rolling perfectly through the pins. So I'm just saying, repeat that. I make another one board right move on this lane, hoping it hooks, and it just goes dead flush. So I know I'm in the right zone now at this point. And stepping up here in the 10th frame, just trying to get as much insurance as I can, because with Spencer Robarge, you never know. If you have one bad game with him, he will take advantage of it. So I needed all the pins I can get just to force him to make quality shots to try and put pressure on me. And I end up striking out here for 228, throwing the back 5. Huge game. I am up at this point 507 to 416. I am up by 91, and at this point, my max is like 199 that I need to shut him out. He splits in the first frame, and every single frame I was like, my max score keeps dropping. And I was just focusing one shot at a time, trying to beat that max score that you need. And I step up here in the second frame and I just bury it. And I go back and just talk with my uncle a little bit. We try and keep focused, keep calm. He's helping me make all the moves throughout the week, so we're just talking. Throw this one pretty good in at light shakers. I'm not too mad about it. Just get up there and make my 7-pin. He misses again in the third, so that max score is now down to probably 160, 170. So all I need is that to win this match. I step up and just throw another great ball, and I'm like, it's pretty much over at this point, but I'm not going to stop now. This right here might have been my best shot of the week. I just let it go, and it just comes in a little late. I threw it fast. You can tell I know what it means. But still don't let any emotion out. I just wanted to see that number that I needed on the screen. I step up here, go a little light. Now that lane's starting to transition. Good news is I only have about 2 shots on it. And this right here, this is the shot that sealed the deal. The only time I really showed any emotion throughout the week was that shot. And that pretty much secured me to get on the TV show. At this point, it was just icing on the cake. I got to take a little bit of a victory lap where Robarge finished the 10th frame before I did. So I got to finish my 10th frame with the match in hand, knowing that I'm about to be on the TV show for the first time in my life. And taking down an opponent like Spencer Robarge to get to that show just made it bittersweet, because he is the #1 player in the country up until this point, and I knew I would have my hands full. So for me, only switching to two-handed a year ago and taking him down in the way I did, it was a confidence boost for me, and I was extremely proud of my performance. Now we move on to the televised finals on CBS Sports.
In fabulous Las Vegas, there's always a big sporting event happening. It's all on the line tonight at the 2025 USBC Intercollegiate Singles Championships from the South Point Resort and Casino. Checking the BPA road to the finals. 4 finalists remain. Tonight, Connor Lackey of Concordia University of Michigan takes on Australian freshman Blake Walsh from Mount Mercy of Iowa. Then Gael Agana from Skadden, Georgia, battles Nick Blavojevic from McKendree. 4 schools represented here tonight have never won a national championship in singles. That will change. In terms of Connor Lackey, his school in Michigan is shutting down operations. No more athletics next year. He can go out with a bang tonight.
Yeah, how sad is that? Senior year, he's going to graduate. However, he is the story tonight. Rotator cuff injury, went from one-handed bowling to two-handed bowling in only 18 months' time. Here he is in the semifinals match going against Blake.
Connor and Blake join lane level now by Sydney.
Connor, it's awesome to have you here today competing for your school's first national championship. What's the #1 thing you're going to focus on to allow that to happen?
Big thing is just going to stay in my routine, stay focused, just worry about one shot at a time, and whatever the pins say, so it will be.
Sounds like a great mindset to have to compete at a high level.
So during this telecast, this was the first time we had actually seen the oil pattern, and all I have to say is I've never seen a pattern that is lower than 1-1. Nick Hoagland, you are an evil genius when it comes to this, because not only did you take urethane out of play, but you force people to play reactive and get it to roll and do the proper thing to make sure that the ball went through the pin deck correctly. So kudos to you for creating this pattern. It was very, very fun to bowl on, but also very challenging. So here's my first shot ever on national television. So behind me in the green is my mom, and to her right is my girlfriend Ariel. I know they're probably as nervous as I was, but basically I was just telling myself, this shot, throw it anywhere remotely close. I don't care what it does, just try and hit your target. And sure enough, I actually hit my target and threw a strike. So my first ever shot on TV was a strike. You can see my face right there. I am trying not to make my insides come out. I was very, very nervous. This is my opponent, Blake Walsh. He's from Australia. He's coached by Jason Belmonte and Sam Cooley, which I didn't find out until after. He's also a part of Team Australia, so pretty good bowler, and he throws it damn well. Just by, the game that I really watched him bowl. And he just throws it incredible. Nice kid. Hopefully I'll cross paths with him again, but stepping up here in the second frame, I'm like, okay, nerves are still there, but let's just throw another good shot. And I thought this one was pretty good off my hand. Just comes in a little late, and the messenger comes in right in front of the 10 pin, which is the first time I'd actually had the messengers not hit all week. So I was a little bit ticked about the messenger not hitting. I thought I had thrown a pretty good ball, but pin said no. So now I was like, okay, this is not really the spare I want to shoot on TV. So I had to try and calm my nerves here and make a 10 pin, especially thinking about my spare shooting woes earlier in the week. I was like, just hit your target and make the damn spare, and I did. I was actually really impressed with that spare because that was probably one of the hardest ones to shoot on TV, especially for it being my first one. So I step back up here on the left lane. This ball actually goes a little further down the lane than the last one, leaving that weak 10. So I'm like, alright, ball's going a little long, need to move a little bit right. So I'm like, make your spare, move on. And sure enough, make my 10 pin again. So I'm 2 for 2 on TV for 10 pins at this point, which I was extremely happy with. Blake was perfect through 4, so I'm like needing to start striking. So I'm just gonna try and focus on myself, throw some good shots, try and let the pins decide what this match will do. And I got a little nervous on this one and just yanked it a little bit inside. Thankfully that oil strip was there and I ended up tripping the big 4. Got away with it. I definitely shouldn't have gotten away with it, but I did. So, payback for the messenger not hitting. They talk here about my game, about my two-handed game. So at this point, I had been two-handed for probably 15 months. They say 18, but it's 15 months at this time. So I was truly happy to be in the position that I was, and I was actually impressed that I was, because I didn't think I would get this far this quick. So stepping up here, knowing I can apply a little bit of pressure to Blake, I just threw another pretty good one, and this time it was a little more conventional in strike. So at this point, I have not missed the pocket through 5 frames heading into the commercial break. Now, that was a different story. The commercial break was about a because these were all taped, it was about a 5-minute break in between me throwing my 5th frame and my 6th frame. So, being as nervous as I was, I knew I would tighten up. I tried not to let that bother me, and unfortunately, it did not. I end up tugging this one a little bit, thankfully not paying the price and only leaving a 610. Easy spare. Just try and run it down, which I do. The spare woes on TV didn't pop back up, which I was extremely happy about, because that would have been a very embarrassing time for my spare woes to pop back up. So, I just think to myself, I'm down, but I'm not out of it. Just throw some more good shots, put some heat on Blake, and just see what happens, because it's a 1-game match versus a 3-game match. Anything can happen. So I get up here, I throw another pretty good one, and this one had a little more entry angle than the last, but somehow I get the 9 pin out. I believe it was the 3 pin that got a hold of the 9. I've never seen a tripped 9 pin quite like that. I'm used to the head pin coming off the wall, but I'm not gonna complain about getting a tripped 9 pin. See, I show a little bit of emotion. I was a little animated because I was a little wound up. Now, unfortunately, I wish I could say this one was good, but it was a few boards inside, and unfortunately, I paid a big price with this one. 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. It's not always the most fun spare to shoot at. I knew I was going to have to make it to have a chance, and I gave it a little bit of a run, and just didn't get the spare ball over enough, so open frame for me. He can still shoot 259, my max is 213, so at this point I got to strike to have any sort of chance, and have another messenger go right in front of it. So by this point my match is over. I end up losing the match to 34 to 180.
Yeah, definitely seems to be
But
a little
I
bit
have some
easier.
takeaways. Number
Again,
one,
sliding
I
16, that
did
was
make the
about
TV
9 to
show.
that 5-6
And
zone.
number two,
You can see the 6
I was
pin
3
just
for
wraps
3 on
itself
10
right
pins.
around that head.
So I
The
was
10 pin.
extremely happy with that performance,
That head pin off the
especially with my
sidewall
spare
was just not
woes
back
earlier
enough
in the week.
to mess
I
around with the 10
ultimately
pin.
end up finishing third because Gael Agana lost in the match ahead of me, so the seed that was ahead of me, besides
Like
Blake,
his style of play, you can see a lot
won
of
the match, so I ended up finishing third instead of fourth. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little longer and a little different than usual, but I just wanted to share my experience of what it was like to bowl nationals. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please click that like and that subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next video.
Sounding victory for Connor.
Are you ready?